Wagner Falcons against the Curtis Warriors. Hi again, everyone. I'm John Tassiello along with Joe Nugent, and today, the long-awaited day that the Curtis Warriors have been waiting for. It's their home opener, 6 games into the season, as we play this game in grand opening style, unveiling the new artificial turf facility here at Curtis High School. Now, the Warriors come in, Joe, with a record of 3-2. They feature a run-and-shoot, no-huddle offense. They come off a 37-20 loss to Port Richmond last week in a game which they really dominated in the first half, leading 20-9. But in the second half this year, uncharacteristically, they committed 3 turnovers, and the Red Raiders took advantage for the win.
Well, John, they were winning 20-9 at halftime. They did not score in the second half, and like you said, they turned it over. In the 2 games that they have lost this year, they've been simply outscored. They're a run-and-shoot team. Their defense has been not good all year long. And for them to defeat Susan Wagner today, they must, and I emphasize this, stop Wagner's running game early in the first quarter. If I was Fred Oliveri, I would put 9 people on the line of scrimmage and dare Susan Wagner to throw the ball, because Susan Wagner has not thrown the ball since Tommy Reale has gotten hurt. You must beat me in the air, Susan Wagner. That's what I'd be if I was Fred Oliveri.
That is Coach Fred Oliveri's plan, is to go to that hopefully for a high offensive game. And 3 of the key players, or actually 4 that are involved in that run-and-shoot offense, there are 3 running backs who are deadly receiving-wise as well. Exodus Peters, Peter Gambardello, and William Haskell. And the quarterback that makes it all happen is their all-star Jeff Ford.
Yeah, Ford has been outstanding. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire New York City area. I have no doubt that Curtis can score against anybody, including Susan Wagner. If they can get 20 points today and dare Susan Wagner to put the ball up in the air, I think they have a heck of a chance of handing Susan Wagner its first PSAL loss in a long time. But that's easier said than done. The Darling brothers have been running great for Susan Wagner since Reale went down. And the first quarter is going to tell us an awful lot, John.
All right, Susan Wagner comes in with a record of 4. Curtis Warriors, you're watching high school football on Staten Island Cable Sports 1. John Tassiello along with Joe Nugent as you're taking a look at the Curtis Warriors being introduced. First time the Warriors, and any other team for that matter, has been on this field. Temperature here in Staten Island, a very gorgeous day, 60 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And I want to mention the Susan Wagner Falcons. Last time we saw them, they were playing against Farrell. Good news and bad news since we've seen them. They've won 4 in a row is the good news since we last saw the Falcons on Sports 1. The bad news, though, Joe, is in their first win, they lost quarterback Tom Reale, as you had mentioned. And last week in a 44-20 win against Midwood High School, they lost their starting fullback, Keith Walker. And, Joe, Coach Al Paterzo said, we lost 50% of our team.
Well, you know, the Falcons have been winning, but they haven't been dominating. They've had to struggle to win a couple of games that you would have thought they would have blown their opponents away. I really think that coming back to Staten Island and facing island teams that are very, very well schooled in what Susan Wagner does, this is going to be the true test of whether the Falcons can continue to be the dominating team without their star quarterback, and now without Walker, they're one of their real important blockers and runners. This is the acid test today, because the teams in the city, Al Paterzo can out-coach and out-prepare because they don't see Wagner that much, but the teams on Staten Island, and especially this team, Curtis, in the last 2 years, has given Susan Wagner its toughest games. In that 44-game winning streak, of all those games between the Farrell losses, Curtis came closest to knocking them off. So, man, this is big. Very close, sure, very close. We weren't there for cable, but I was at that game, and Curtis played them dead even last year.
And as Joe mentioned, this is the first game for the Susan Wagner Falcons against a Staten Island opponent. For Curtis, it's their second game. As we take a look at both teams on the field, Susan Wagner is going to, well, let's take this pause right now for the playing of our national anthem. earlier. They were stopping on the benches trying to get Curtis going before the game starts, and some war chant songs, which we'll get to later on. Joe has...
You could talk about that for a long time, but they've joined the bandwagon here today.
Before we get to the extracurricular activities, the strategies for both coaches, Joe, are very simple. Coach Oliveri wants the high offensive game, and Coach Albertoso wants to play it like the New York Giants. He wants to make it, keep the ball on the ground, keep it away from the run and shoot offense. If there were any two teams on Staten Island, whether the antithesis of each other, these are the two.
Well, you're right in that. Well, Port Richmond is almost the same way, John, although I think Port Richmond's team under Joe George has played a little better defense than Curtis had, and that was the difference last week, 37-20. And I really am very anxious to see Curtis's first set on defense. You know what's going to happen on offense. They're going to be wide open and very entertaining. But when Susan Wagner has the football for the first time, it's going to be very interesting to see how Coach Fred Oliveri is going to attack this Wagner offense, because like I said, Susan Wagner will not throw the ball unless they absolutely have to.
That's a stat well proven, and to prove it even more, this year the Falcons have 1,050 yards rushing and only 189 passing.
And we still don't know who Al Paterzo is going to use in Walker's spot. That's going to be a surprise when the game starts, as who's going to take Keith Walker's spot, and that's a very important position, especially if you're going to stay on the ground all day. Walker was a tough runner and a real good blocker.
Last week it was the Jamon Darling and Omar Darling show as they compiled most of the yardage offensively. They compiled a good chunk of that, 203 yards. Actually, it was, 287 yards between the two of the total 373 yards in offense. Our referee today is Dick Stanley.
This is the third time we've had Stanley as a referee. He did the Farrell Susan Wagner game in our opener, and then was there the day Port Richmond won over August Martin. So this is 3 TV appearances for Mr. Stanley.
Curtis, a team that averages 30.4 points per game. They allow 25 points per game. And Susan Wagner averaging 24.4 points per game. They allow only 12 points per game. But again, all of their games, with the exception of Farrell, is teams against the New York City PSAL. This is the first PSAL matchup here in Staten Island again for Susan Wagner. And we talked about streaks before for Susan Wagner. They still have an undefeated string of PSAL wins, 46 straight PSAL wins for the Susan Wagner Falcons.
An amazing, absolutely amazing streak, John. And of course, you know, the one thing I think you should say about their loss to Farrell, which was 15-10, just look what Farrell has done since that day. They have absolutely crushed Catholic High School League competition, so it could very well be that Susan Wagner is by far the second best team in New York City, and we'll see today if they can do it to the Warriors. That looks like it's going out of bounds.
As the number 42, James Pedro, kicking off to William Haskell and Exodus Peters for Curtis. Susan Wagner Falcons only lost that Farrell game by 5 points, and Farrell has gone on, as Joe mentioned, to really blow out some of the better Catholic schools in New York.
They're ranked #1 in the state, John, which Susan Wagner was never ranked #1 in the state, all during their winning streak. So not only has Farrell gotten the attention of the people around New York City, they've gotten the attention of everybody in the entire state with the way they've just rolled since opening day.
And at last look, Susan Wagner is ranked 11th in the state and 2nd in New York City. 5-yard penalty, and James Pedro will be kicking off again. Exodus Peters, who is back there, number 44 for Curtis, at about his 20-yard line. He already has one kickoff return for a touchdown this year against Andrew Jackson, an 83-yarder.
And on that first kickoff, it looked like Pedro was just trying to punch it over the lineman and not get it into the deep receivers. That looks like it's going out of here. He did the same thing.
It was going. William Haskell just lets it go. Now, the NFL has a better rule, I believe, this time. It saves a lot of time, where the new rule is that if it goes out of bounds, you just take it at the 35.
Susan Wagner had the option, John.
Okay.
They want to try to run it back against Susan Wagner. Susan Wagner is afraid of Curtis's explosive backs, and they're trying to kick away. And I'll tell you one thing, they're going to go back and back and back, and Pedro better forget about being fancy and just kick it down the middle, or else they're going to really put themselves in a hole.
And when they do have the ball on offense, what makes these backs so doubly a double trouble, actually, for the Susan Wagner defense, or any defense, is that they have some receiving numbers that are just unlike running back numbers. They have a lot of yards rushing and almost as much in receiving. And plus the wide receivers that Jeff Ford throws to, it makes them a very high, potent, run-and-shoot, no-huddle offense. Don't blink when the Warriors are on offense because they run off plays in a hurry. All right, back at the 30. James Pedro. Time it's a little onside kick attempt.
I don't believe it.
What a...
Are they kidding me?
Inauspicious beginning for the Falcons. That'd be called by Coach Peterza.
Well, that's, I'll tell you what, that's out of bounds again. But that's this time Curtis can take it deep. They can take it deep in Wagner territory. Sure, they're going to get it, John, at the 44-yard line of Susan Wagner. Very poor execution to start this game by the kicking game of Susan Wagner.
I was about to say that he was kicking into a wind, but actually the wind is really blowing across the field rather than where he was kicking into. But nevertheless, now that it's all said and done, after a third attempt, the Curtis Warriors will have a first down and 10. Already inside that Susan Wagner territory at the 43-yard line.
There was a whole lot of planning going into that opening kickoff all week long by Susan Wagner, and it's backfired right in their faces.
Pete Gambardella in motion. They go from this run and shoot, usually one lone setback, and this time it's Exodus Peters. Long count for Jeff Ford. On 1st and 10, Ford rolling, finds an open man, but it's dropped. They're going to call that incomplete. It was intended for number 32, Pete Gambardella. And you'll be hearing that sound all day, folks, as the fans stomp their feet on this very low maintenance but very nice looking aluminum, replacing the old wood seats. And we'll get on to exactly what was done here at Curtis High School as this game progresses. A $4.7 million project.
And John, the stands are really filling up. It looked kind of empty about 15 minutes ago, but looked like we're going to have a very big crowd here as they continue to pour in.
William Haskell in motion. Lone setback is Gambardella again. Fourth to pass. It dropped again. 2 in a row. This time number 44, Exodus Peters.
Wow. Both passes in the same area, 8 yards down the field. First Gambardella drops it, then Peters drops it. It should be 2 completions for Jeff Ford. Instead, he's 0 for 2. Nervousness. This is a very big game for the Curtis program, and these two have been grabbing passes all year long. And as you can see, Curtis does not use a huddle. It's 3rd and 10.
Call it from the 45. Again, Ford rolling. Steps up. Long pass is incomplete. Intended for number 8, Chris Sessa. And the Warriors are 3 and punt, something Coach Alveri does not want.
2 things that happened on that first set. First of all, the first 2 should have been caught. The third one, Sessa was open, and Ford also had a lot of room to run down the right sideline if he chose to do so. Instead, he passed the ball way down the field and overshot his receiver. So Curtis does not take advantage of the first real break they had in the game, and that was the poor kickoff by Susan Wagner. It's really, the wind has really kicked up here in the last 10 minutes.
Blowing across the field. Punter Mike Denacoli back at his 45 as Brian O'Hare, number 11, and number 27, Javone Darling for the Susan Wagner Falcons at about their 10-yard line will take this punt. Short, but good hang time, and goes out of bounds at roughly the 24-yard line where the Falcons will operate first down and 10.
No, that's a poor punt. That's 19 yards, and it certainly doesn't pin Susan Wagner back. And here's we're going to get our first taste of whether Susan Wagner is going to be able to control the ball and keep it away from that explosive Curtis offense.
Just underway here at Curtis High School, 11:03 remaining in this first quarter. Susan Wagner Falcons at the helm, number 8, the quarterback, Andrew LaFata, a 5'9", 140 junior, also plays defensive back. They go from an I formation, actually now a full house backfield. Javone Darling gets the pitch.
Oh, he's got
a lot of running room. Close to midfield.
Wow. Well, does that answer one question right away? A pitch to Darling, and he goes 26 yards for an easy gain. Nobody touched him. He ran 20 yards. I could have made, well, not today. I couldn't have, but
let's take a look at it again. The 5'10", 175 junior, Javone Darling.
There's nobody. They wipe out the entire right side of the Curtis defense. There's nobody there, and Darling runs 20 yards before he's touched.
Darling, number 42, James Pedro. Darling wears number 27, and John Madigan, number 35, are the three running backs. Again, it's Darling. It'll be Darling all day as Coach Oliveri makes some defensive changes. Exodus Peters, who played defensive back last week, is at linebacker this week. And a few other changes we'll get to.
Yeah, Oliveri is gambling. He's selling out for this game, really. He's using some of his offensive stars and athletes on defense just for this one game. And I don't blame him.
Exodus Peters, those are some of the changes made. We'll be seeing this combination. This hands off to Javon Darling. Darling, 11 touchdowns on the year, number 1 on Staten Island. He had 5 in the first half last week against Midwood. As the handoff to Darling again, eludes one tackle and gets into Warrior territory, where it'll be enough for appears to be a first down.
No, it's not going to be a first down. Nope. John, it's going to be 3rd and 2.
All right.
Junior John Madigan is lined up in the spot that Keith Walker's had all year, John. So that answers one question. It's John Madigan, a 5'7", 165-pound junior who is taking Keith Walker's place in front of Darling. 3rd and 2, Darling sweeping left, and he is gone. He is gone. He's gone.
Javon Darling, deeper in Curtis Warrior territory, close to the 20, probably across the 20-yard line. And the Falcon fans make their presence felt.
Okay, from where we're located at the top of the... We're going to have a replay again. A pitch to the left this time. Again, there is no resistance. And once Darling turns the corner, there are no maroon shirts for 20 yards. And they're in trouble early, the Curtis defense. It's inside the 10, John. It's tough to tell. It looks like it's about the 10-yard line.
Right. Yeah, right at the soccer goal line, as this field is used for soccer as well. 1st and 10, we'll call from the 10-yard line. Or 1st and goal, Darling twists and turns.
Yeah, they were inside the 10 because we don't see the chains. It must have been 1st and goal from the 9, and Madigan got 5 there.
Okay, it was not Darling. Madigan with the carry.
That takes some of the butterflies out of that young man's stomach, getting his first important call, and that's Al Paterzo showing a lot of confidence in John there. 2nd and goal from the 4, John.
Falcons scoring last week on their first 6 possessions. Darling, short of the goal line, it'll be 3rd and goal.
Looks like he got down to about the 2-yard line.
Number 74, Ed McGann, makes the stop.
Yeah, that's the 2. 3rd and goal from the 2.
The Darling brothers, again, last week responsible for 287 of the 373 total yards. Only 36 yards passing for the Falcons last week. 373
touchdown
rushing, and there is the touchdown. The Falcons take the lead, making it look very easy, just running right through a very non-existent Curtis defense.
You're right, John. They made it look much too easy, and Oliveri was fearful of this. He's using his offensive stars, Darling right up the gut here, without much trouble at all. From the 2-yard line, you're supposed to make better contact on defense than that when you know Darling's coming at you, but he walked in. 6-0 Susan Wagner. They took less than 4 minutes to go down the field, mostly on Darling's runs. Now the 2-point conversion try, and I wouldn't be surprised. Well, Darling's splitting out for the 2-point conversion try.
They had a pass last week for an extra point. Extra 2 points. This time LaFata had ideas of passing, runs it in, waiting for the signal, and it's good.
Yep. Nice job by Andrew. 8-0 Susan Wagner with 8:10 to go in the first quarter.
Andrew LaFata giving the Susan Wagner Falcons the 8-0 lead, had ideas of passing. And the Falcons seem to have no problem on that drive. Javon Darling with the touchdown. He came into the game with 97 rushes, 610 yards. Number 1 on Staten Island, his 12th touchdown of the year. Last week with 27 rushes for 216 yards, 5 touchdowns. All those touchdowns, as I mentioned, were in the first half.
No, Fred Oliveri is pacing the sideline now with his head down a little bit. I think he still has confidence in his offense coming back here, but that doesn't make any difference if they can't stop Darling on the ground. If they run like that all day long, if the Falcons can run like that, forget it. This could be a real long day for Curtis. And by the way, maybe our cameras can pick him up later on the sidelines. Dennis McKnight of the Philadelphia Eagles, who played for Paterzo at Susan Wagner when Paterzo was an assistant, has made the trip to Staten Island today, John, to give a pregame inspirational speech to the Falcons. He's the guy over there on the sidelines that looks like Konog the Barbarian. So maybe our cameras can pick him up a little later on because he's still here to watch the game. Dennis McKnight of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Big chunk of his career playing with the San Diego Chargers as Exodus Peters takes the kickoff. And he's hit initially by Aaron Sullivan, and then all the Curtis Warriors still in good field position at about the 42-yard line. Their own 42. They trail 8-0. And the second chance for this Curtis offense. Only against John Adams this year did Curtis have more rushing yards than passing yards. Lone setback, Exodus Peters. 4 receivers, 1 to the left and 3 to the right of Jeff Ford. Again, passing on first down. Pass is incomplete, intended for number 34, William Haskell. So Ford now 0 for 4.
He doesn't look like he has much on the ball early.
Does have a strong arm, though, Joe. That's one of the reasons why they did go to the run and shoot this year.
You know, Jeff does have a strong arm, but early he looks like he's trying to float it in there, and the wind is kind of taking his passes a little bit. I think that Jeff better put a little bit more on the ball, use a little bit more of that strong arm that he has. The touch is floating passes away here early.
Number 3 on Staten Island in passing. Again, back to pass. He's in trouble, gets away from one tackler, and he's still in trouble. And he's destroyed, finally, by a host of Falcons. Number 71, Randy Marcano, and number 73, Jeff Danish, all over Jeff Ford, the 2 defensive stars of the Falcons.
That's right. Boy, does this look bleak early for the Warriors before this very enthusiastic crowd in their home opener in this beautiful new facility. And we're hoping that that this isn't a lopsided romp here, but I'll tell you, Curtis better get its offense together if they expect to stay in this game.
3rd down, the ball at the, appears to be the 43. Lone setback is William Haskell, or rather, excuse me, number 32, Pete Gambardella. Number 32 is that setback, and he gets the handoff on 3rd and long, and he gets to midfield, perhaps the 49-yard line, but he'll be short of the first down.
Well, I don't know. This may be a very big decision for Fred Oliveri here early. On 3rd and long, Gambardella picked up maybe the 11 yards that he needed, John. Dick Stanley's taking a look, and they're going to measure. And, boy, I'll tell you, if this isn't a first down, does Fred Oliveri have a big decision to make?
Deceiving to me because I'm looking at the yard markers.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough from this angle.
From this angle, it looks like he's well short, but it is close. Surprising call, Joe, on 3rd down as there appear to be a nose of the football short.
Wow. It's 4th and an inch, John.
Nose of the football, folks. You surprised at that call on 3rd and about maybe 7 or 8 on a handoff?
No, that was 3rd and 11. And Gambardella was the lone setback, and sometimes that'll work. If Susan Wagner's looking past with his nickel package in there, it could work, and it did work. But now it's 4th and an inch for a run and shoot team. Let's see what the Warriors come up. This could be the whole afternoon right here. I'll tell you, very big play. 4th and 1 inch.
Not in a position that they're often in, a run and shoot team. Gambardella again, the lone setback, and the Falcons are going to be called for encroachment unless they were drawn off.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be now 4th and 5 because I think Curtis, number 66, jumped.
It is a legal procedure on the Warriors.
And that changes the whole deal. Fred Oliveri is going to have to punt now.
A little confusing count. Jeff Ford does audibilize a lot on the line of scrimmage. A long count that time. Did not see which Warrior went offside, but now they will punt.
It was number 66, Bernard Lopez, the senior tackle, who came up too early, and now Curtis has no decision to make. On 4th and 5 from midfield, they will kick it away to Susan Wagner.
And interesting, Lopez replacing one of the starters, Chris Santos. And the punt by Dennis Coley will go out of bounds at roughly the 25-yard line. Where the Falcons will operate with 6:02 remaining in this first quarter, and the Susan Wagner Falcons lead Curtis 8-0. 2-yard touchdown run by Javon Darling, and the 2-point conversion by Andrew LaFata. Curtis Warriors haven't defeated the Susan Wagner Falcons. For that matter, no one has in the last over the years. It's 1984, the last 6 years. Wagner with a record of 6-0 during that remarkable winning streak. 1st and 10 from the 28-yard line. This time from an I formation.
Curtis has 8 people within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage.
Madigan pulls forward for about 3 or 4. Incidentally, Joe, both of these coaches, Coach Paterzo and Fred Oliveri, had a agreement, and they did trade films during the week, so each team got to look at each other.
So far, it looks like what Al Paterzo saw on those films was, hey, listen, I can overpower Curtis's defensive front, because you can see, look at this, John, they have 8 people right at the ball. Within a yard of the football, Curtis is really packed in. And still, there's Darling still making that initial penetration.
Flag down. It appears he has enough for the first down, but a flag is down.
It's hard to tell what that could be. It was at the very end of the run. It could be a face mask, or it could be a personal foul. Might be holding. Face mask.
On Curtis, and that'll definitely give them the first down and perhaps tack on more. Susan Wagner with the 4-0 PSAL mark. Curtis at 3-2. Taking it one game at a time, but if they lose this game, again, their playoff hopes could be in danger. And if not over.
And if they lose this game, John, we know where we're going to be on that to-be-announced game, too. You know, a lot. We've saved an open date for, I think it's November the 9th, somewhere in there, and we want to give Staten Island the best game of the day that day, and that would be Port Richmond Susan Wagner if the Falcons win today. If Curtis wins today, we don't know where we'll be. It could be wide open by then.
It is November 9th. First down and 10. The handoff goes to number 42, James Pedro.
See, that was a good hit by Curtis, but it's still coming 4 yards down the field. 2nd and 6, Al Paterzo will take 2nd and 6 every time. That's a good, you know, if you want to run the ball, getting 4 yards on first down is a good play, especially when you have a back of Darling's ability.
2nd and 6 from the 44 of Curtis, and right now time of possession is totally in Susan Wagner's command, something the Warriors did not want. Javon Darling on the draw play. He is juking all over the place down the field.
What
he scored.
Run. What a magnificent run. That's the highlight run of the season.
Just a couple of dinks, and the Warriors fell for every move. And a 44-yard touchdown for Javon Darling gives the Susan Wagner Falcons the 14-0 lead.
Look at Darling. Through the middle of the defense, watch this, deke, and then this last cutback, a beautiful cutback to the outside. That's got to be the highlight run of the season. 14-0 Susan Wagner with 4:17 to go in the first quarter, and it's bleak looking for the Warriors.
13th touchdown of the year, 2nd of this game. Again, we mentioned 5 in the first half last week.
He's got to be way over 100 yards already, John.
Yeah.
With his 2 long runs, he's got to be over 100 yards, and we're not even finished the first quarter yet.
And that's the defending champions for nothing. They can't beat you passing, they'll do it running. As Lafada looking to pass it, and it is...
Oh, man, it's a beauty.
Number 11, Brian O'Hare.
What a beautiful pass by Andrew Lafada. He had very little room to put it in there, and he put it in there.
16-0 Susan Wagner. Well, Coach Paterzo saying that let's take a look at it again, first of all.
Lafada rolls to his right, the first pass he's going to throw all day, and he's got like 6 inches, and O'Hare catches it and stays in bounds. Outstanding execution.
Coach Paterzo telling me that Lafada's strong point is on the handoff, which, as we can see, has been no problem with Javon Darling rushing all over the place, but he looked very impressive passing the ball, and perhaps a weapon that Coach Paterzo doesn't want to unveil.
Well, let's put it this way. You know, when Tommy Reale got hurt, there were an awful lot of people around that saying, oh, well, now we'll get him, now we'll get him. Hey, Al Paterzo is a hard-working, great high school football coach, and when he lost his offensive leader, he realized he had to work twice as hard to get this team through a schedule, and he knows that it's a lot of people doubt that they can do it, but this is the game that a lot of those doubts may be erased right here today. 16 zip, 4 minutes to go in the first quarter.
There's even a banner here that says no Reale, no Walker, no passes. Well, that's fine for Coach Paterzo right now. He's running it and running it into a 16-0 lead. As William Haskell gets the ball at his 25. A lot of room. The Warriors are getting excellent field position on the kickoffs, but unable to do anything with it. Move it in across the 30-yard line.
Haskell did not run hard, though, on that. You know, he wasn't.
The kick being short is giving Curtis the field position.
But right now, I thought that was a very tentative run back there, and I think everything about Curtis's play so far has been tentative.
It's an excellent word to describe the way they've looked.
It didn't start out good with those 2 dropped passes in the first 2 plays, and it's gone all downhill from there. And I'll tell you what, Curtis needs a touchdown, and they need it right here, or else this could be blowout city.
Looks to be the 33-yard line, 1st and 10 for Curtis. This is the deepest they've been in their own territory. Their third opportunity, trailing 16-0. Exodus Peters, the lone setback on a long count here by Ford. On the handoff to Peters, he gets nowhere. Brought down by
that was Jeff Danish.
Jeff Danish, 73, also number 55, Tony Scarano in there on the hit.
If Peters gets by Danish, it's a big gainer, but Danish is a premier player, and he shut it down for a 2-yard gain. I'll tell you, Peters came very close to breaking that, but Danish just made a great play at the line of scrimmage.
Marcano and Danish, great containment and movement on the line, according to Coach Al Paterzo. They do the little things right. Here's a quick pitch now to number 34, William Haskell, but he's dragged down.
That was a shuffle pass that just about got through, but Haskell, again, running laterally rather than north and south, where it looked like it was a big gainer, and actually he didn't even pick up enough for a first down. William Haskell's got to go more north and south than lateral. That's why Curtis is still looking for its first down of the day. It's 3rd and 1.
Number 21, Sean Lee, on that stop. Haskell, 7 touchdowns this year. 6', 185 junior. Among the leaders on Staten Island in the touchdown category. 3rd and 1 as you take a look at Gambardella in motion. Peters trying to follow some blocking, but Danish all over him.
Well, that's what we call happy feet in football, and Exodus Peters on 3rd and 1, you can't be dancing in the backfield. You got to be going straight at it and hard. He did not pick up the first down. It's 4th and still 1. And now what do you do if you're Fred Oliveri? What do you do now? I mean, you're down 16-0. Your highly touted explosive offense has not picked up a first down. And if you punt here, it's sort of like you're giving up almost. You're saying, well, we can't get 1 yard on you. So that's why I think Fred Oliveri is going to let it all hang out here, and in his own territory, he's going to go for a first down on 4th and about 6 inches, 7 inches.
On the 44 with 1:19 left in this first quarter. And now Ford's going to call timeout.
Wow.
Wise move. This is a momentum turner. The Curtis Warriors looking to build on something. Curtis Warriors averaging, actually, a total for the year, 547 yards rushing, 1,124 passing. Unable to mount anything so far against this Susan Wagner defense, which themselves has allowed 786 yards rushing and 450 passing. Right now, everything going the Susan Wagner way as you take a look at just some gorgeous shots by our camera crew. You see the Statue of Liberty. Earlier you saw the skyline of Manhattan.
Yeah, this is a great spot, which always has been. You know, even with the old bleachers to watch a baseball game up here on a nice day in the spring. It's an absolutely gorgeous facility here at Curtis, one of the great old high schools in New York City.
What do you think Coach Al Fabry or Coach Frank Cassidy, one of the original coaches here at Curtis, would say to this type of a facility?
They'd probably say, where's the spittoon?
Curtis starting football back in 1904 and then lapsed in the football program and then picking it up again in 1922. It's been a long tradition here at Curtis High School.
I tell you, I know one guy that's thrilled is baseball coach Jimmy Moralia. Now that's where this Astros. Oh, look at
this on 4th and inches.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think he got it, Joe. It appeared to be, was that Jeff Ford keeping it?
That was Jeff Ford on a quarterback sneak, and I'm going to tell you something. He was absolutely stopped, but he gave it that real tough athletic effort at the end. And if the refs gave him a liberal mark, he might have it.
Co-captain Jason Menner, number 53, all over Ford. And we'll wait for the measurement.
The Curtis, judging by what the Susan Wagner defense, judging by them, I would say that it is a first down. Judging by the way they're reacting, but I guess they're going to bring the chains out. The Curtis offense is staying on the field, and the Susan Wagner defense doesn't look like they're jumping and pointing in the other direction. So maybe from where they stand, it looks like a first down, and the first one for Curtis today.
And I haven't got it yet. We have under a minute remaining in this first quarter, and the Warriors lead 16-0. The Warriors, excuse me, trail 16-0. And it is a first down, the first one for the Warriors.
Well, that helps, and any little bit helps, and it looks like as long as it's out of the hands of Javon Darling, it's a help.
Jeff Ford going over 1,000 yards in passing last week, 69 for 139, 1,102 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions are the kinds of numbers that Ford has. Number 3 on Staten Island with a 49.6% passing percentage. First and 10 from the 45. Ford, long pass is incomplete. Intended for number 32, Pete Gambardella. There's your example of the running back being a wide receiver type of play.
But I don't like the decisions made by Jeff Ford there, John. He threw it up in traffic down the middle of the field where a lot of bad things can happen from here anyway. It looked like Jeff Ford had a lot of room to run down the right side once he broke containment. I think Ford could have picked up a first down by running it, and he chose to throw a lollipop pass down the middle. Again, I think that Jeff Ford's got to put more zip on the ball than he's been shown so far.
And he can run. He has a 17-yard touchdown run last week. Last year, again, he was number 1 on Staten Island, 99 for 198, and over 1,000 yards again, 1,089 yards in passing last year. Second and 10, they're going to call it from the 44. Peters the lone setback. Pass is incomplete. Cutting, but not there in time, was number 34, William Haskell.
That time, Ford threw to a spot that Gambardella didn't get to. He was, I think, throwing for Peter Gambardella, but the coverage was so good, the ball ended up closer to Haskell and Gambardella, but Gambardella's route was sealed off, and right now, Curtis is searching for answers, and Ford's not coming up with any. The Susan Wagner defense looks very well prepared for this run and shoot. It shouldn't surprise anybody that knows Al Paterzo.
Third down and 10. And Peters the lone setback. On play action. Danish after Ford. Pass incomplete. Down the far sideline. Intended for number 34, William Haskell. And a punting situation again for the Curtis Warriors. Clock showing, well, it shows 5.2 seconds, I believe. The official time, of course, kept on the field by Dick Stanley. Time remaining in the first quarter.
And that looks like it might be, let's see, are they going to change sides here?
Waiting for a signal, and that here is the signal by Coach Dick Stanley.
Let's see.
Unless he's not official yet, folks.
He's waving.
There, well, the siren went off for the end of the first quarter.
He's looking. He's waving.
Life in high school football, folks.
What are you doing, Mr. Stanley?
16-0 Susan
yes,
Wagner.
That's it, John.
All right, here's the official signal for the end of the first quarter, a very inauspicious one for the Curtis Warriors. When we return, it'll be second quarter action. The score at the end of one period, Susan Wagner 16, the Curtis Warriors nothing, and you're watching it by number 11, Brian O'Hare, as we start the second quarter with the Falcons on offense. And they lead 16-0. John Tassiola with Joe Nugent from a brand new Curtis High School artificial turf facility.
And boy, this year, John, we can't complain about the weather that we've had for our 5 high school games. Usually we don't catch a break every time we do it, but so far, with only one on the regular schedule to go, we've had beautiful weather this year.
Gorgeous day, as I mentioned, not a cloud in the sky. First and 10 from the Susan Wagner 32. Pedro and Darling. The handoff goes to Pedro, the up back. Gets a 2 or 3 before being brought down. Number 63, Devon Borum.
See, that looked like absolutely nothing, and yet look how much he gained, John. He got 4 yards on that play, and that's the difference in this game so far. The original contact was made 1 or 2 yards from the line of scrimmage, but the big push by the Susan Wagner's massive offensive line, and it's 2nd and 6, and a comfortable position for Al Paterzo, who can just run it again.
He's up 16-0, so he just can stick to his game plan. The game right now totally in the game plan, going the exact game plan way of the way Coach Paterzo wanted it. 2nd and 5 from the 33, and it's going to be enough for a first down. Javon Darling with that handoff.
Yeah, you're relying on your eyes again there, John. It's going to be 3rd and 1. Tough angle from here.
It is tough angle.
Yeah, you got to wait before you call those first downs. We're situated up here at the top of the bleachers at about the 25-yard line at the opposite end of the field where Wagner is now. So 3rd and inches, and Wagner, with the way they're running the ball, I'm sure Al Paterzo is looking at this as a 2-down play. If he doesn't make it on 3rd down, I'm sure he'd have no hesitation about going for it on 4th down.
From the 37-yard line, Darling.
That was the best defensive play of the day for Curtis so far, but unfortunately it came on 3rd and a yard, and Darling got about 1.5 yards.
And enough for the first down.
And you see, John, by playing this kind of football, you have to remember that between snaps, Susan Wagner is running 35 to 40 seconds off a 12-minute clock on every play. So if they just go down the field this way, by the time Curtis gets the ball back, there'll be very little time left in the first half.
Well, that's exactly, as I mentioned earlier, the way Coach Paterzo wants it.
And he's got it all his way right now.
Pedro, Darling, and Madigan are running backs. The pitch to Darling. Cutting. Now going back towards the near sideline.
So long.
Another.
So long. Goodbye.
Javon Darling just makes 2 or 3 moves at the line of scrimmage, and his history. Flag is down, though, Joe. We have to wait and see what that's all about.
Well, I saw something happening at midfield between number 2 on Curtis and number 77 on Susan Wagner.
Ken Chapman of Curtis and Ed Bowen of Susan Wagner. Let's take a look.
Now, I'm going to say this. With 9 minutes to go in the second quarter, we may be seeing the greatest day any running back has ever had on Staten Island.
We have an knack for that, don't we?
Well, I'm saying that he has got more than almost 3 full quarters to go here, and Javon Darling has a shot at setting any kind of record you ever heard of, because he's got to be well over 150 yards already with 9:53 to go in the second quarter. He could break a record today that'll never be broken.
Close to a 70-yarder.
I think that probably was 60-something yards there. And that was a personal foul against a extremely frustrated Curtis Warrior team after Darling hit the end zone.
A 67 or a 68-yard run. And now the two-point conversion. Susan Wagner, who has had no problem at all just keeping it on the ground. Again, we mentioned the first 6 possessions they had scored against Midwood last week, and the first 3 here against Curtis they had scored. And the Falcons, a team that averages only, well, not only, but 24 points per game, as opposed to Curtis's 30.
Well, they have almost 24 already, and I haven't seen anything that makes me think that they're not going to get 50 today.
We don't want to have an 81-0 Penn State game.
Coach Al Paterzo is talking to referee Dick Stanley on the sideline. I think he's looking for an ejection here because, like I said, there was a personal foul call against Curtis way back at midfield involving number 2 on Curtis,
which is
Ken Chapman.
Yep.
And number 77 on Susan Wagner, and they put the ball half the distance to the goal line on the extra point. Dick Stanley is now coming over to the Curtis sideline.
That's
Tell
Ed
Fred
Bowen.
Oliveri what's going on.
Ed Bowen, number 77 on Susan Wagner. Falcons going for the 2 points here. They're 2 for 2 so far. Lafada ran one in the first time, and then he threw it for the second one to Brian O'Hare.
Yeah.
Take a look at Coach Fred Oliveri of Curtis in his 10th year with a record of 40, 51, and 3.
Andrew probably loves these 2-point conversion plays. It's the only time Al lets him throw the ball, but now that they've moved it half the distance to the goal line, he probably won't even get to throw it.
Oh, he looked impressive on that one play.
He sure did.
Last week he was 0 for 3 passing, and this week that's that 2-point conversion for the pass play. 9:53 unofficially remaining in this second quarter. 22-0 already. The Falcons having no problems at all with Curtis. This the 2-point conversion. The little hand up to Darling, and that time nothing doing for Darling as it's William Haskell making the nice tackle. Pete Gambardella, excuse me, number 32, rather.
Well, that's the very first, well, 2 positive things have happened to Curtis so far. On that 4th and inches, they just made it by a couple inches, and that was a nice play by Gambardella, who's playing defense today for the first time in 22-0. Boy, oh boy, I know that this crowd is in shock, and I think everybody's in shock at the way Susan Wagner has totally dominated the Warriors so far.
No problem at all. Score remains 22-0. So far, it's been only 1 first down for the Curtis Warriors. 3 possessions, and they've had to punt all 3 times.
This stand is pretty much filled now, John. It's definitely the 2nd largest crowd we've had on Staten Island cable. Of course, we had 4,000 or 5,000 at the Farrell Susan Wagner game, but on this beautiful Sunday with the Giants not playing, and I guess people didn't want to stay home and watch the Colts and the Jets.
Joe with incidentally, a knock on those 2 teams, but incidentally, Joe making the brave effort here. Joe's on the DL. He has a bad back, and he really has made quite of an effort to join me here and help us here at Staten Island Cable, as he always does, as our color analyst.
Well, they sort of carted me up here, and I'm in pretty bad shape with a herniated disc, but I'll do my best to get through this.
As Haskell takes the kickoff from James Pedro, and he gets to the 35-yard line, where it'll be first down and 10. Curtis trailing 22-0. They spot the ball at the 33. We do hope you have a speedy recovery, Joe.
Well, the doctors tell me that it's not speedy, unfortunately. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, for anybody that's never had a bad back and a herniated disc, but I would like to take this opportunity to tell my students at Dreyfus that I miss them, and I'll try to get back there as quick as I can, but man, they have to cart me around.
Bring Joe up.
Maybe a while.
We're up here on the top of the stands. Joe needs an elevator. There's the pitch to Haskell, and he has a good gainer down the far sidelines. He's still going out of bounds across midfield. The best run of the day for Curtis.
It's not going to count, though, John. I don't think there's a flag back at the line of
There
scrimmage.
is a flag now. It could be holding. That could have sprung him free. And that might come back.
When things are bad, they go from bad to worse. And they are going to be called for
Personal foul.
Clipping
On the Warriors.
on the corner. Let's see if we can pick it up. Good pitch by Ford.
Had to be in that pile right there.
Right there.
Right to the back of the screen as you saw the hit.
It was a pretty obvious clip, too. So Haskell's 20-yard jaunt around the left side wiped out. Curtis now starts first and 25 from the zone 18, and things just keep getting worse and worse for the Warriors.
Well, they start this, what you say, the Florida State chant now here at Curtis High School, which the Braves have adapted in baseball. Fans remaining very enthusiastic, though. I have to say that on the Curtis side.
That's true. Curtis, a lot of spirit. They have an outstanding cheerleading squad that stays together for all the sports, and they still have a lot of enthusiasm. You're right.
Flag down.
So this won't count.
Ford going for Haskell, who's wide open, underthrown, but again, a flag is down. He was wide open. But it's legal motion on the Warriors. They'll bring it back. This has been a nightmare for Coach Fred Oliveri.
Jeff Ford is not setting his feet when he's throwing the football. He's throwing on the run, and I don't know. I haven't seen Curtis in person this year.
Take a look at their scores. They lost 32-26 to Brooklyn Tech. Then they went on a 3-game winning streak, 48 points over Andrew Jackson, 26-3 over Evander Childs, 32-25 over John Adams, and last week losing to Port Richmond 37-20. But so far, this is the worst they've shown all year, not being able to score at all with 9:02 remaining in the second quarter, and things just getting worse.
The only pass that Ford has completed was the shuffle pass that went for about 8 yards. When he's actually thrown the ball down the field, he hasn't completed anything.
Haskell, the lone setback on 3rd and a mile, and that pass is intercepted by number 4 of the Susan Wagner Falcons, Aaron Sullivan. That's the 6th interception of the year thrown by Jeff Ford. He only had 1 after the first 2 games. This is 6 now on the year. Let's take a look.
Ford drops back, steps up, good pressure. He gets hit just as he releases. And I'll tell you what, as you look at that right there, that still picture, you saw 5 white shirts and 1 maroon shirt in the picture.
Pete Gambardella, the lone warrior. Well, Coach Oliveri was calling his team, and his team was called the Road Warriors. They couldn't wait to get home. Now they probably wish they weren't home. 8:44 remaining in this second quarter. 1st and 10 for Susan Wagner at the Curtis 34, and they lead 22-0. From an I formation. Little play action. It goes to number 11, Brian O'Hare.
Susan Wagner can do whatever it wants right now with a Curtis team that better snap out of it. They got to buckle up their chin straps now and start getting tough here, or else they're going to get run out of their own field opening day, and all this hype for this day. O'Hare just goes 11 yards.
1st and 10 from the 23. O'Hare in motion. Darling. Oh, he bowls forward, but he is tackled after a gain of about 2 or 3 by Frank Cusido, the defensive Curtis defensive back, actually linebacker, excuse me.
Well, this is the first time in the entire ball game, John, that Susan Wagner did not get at least 4 yards on 1st down. It's 2nd and 9, and we'll see whether that changes Paterzo's thinking any, and he allows Adam to throw Andrew Lafata to throw the ball. I'll tell you, if he does throw it, there's going to be people open because Curtis is still selling out for the run.
I never saw a rushing yards compiled so quickly by any team before, ever. Usually you do these type of yards passing quickly, but Susan Wagner got to be close to 200 yards rushing already as a team. There's a whistle.
Delay a game. It's going to make it 2nd and 14, and Curtis needs all the help it can muster on defense. So for the first time in the whole game, Al Paterzo is faced with 2nd and long, but I still expect him to run the ball.
Now, well, obviously they're just working on the clock. Now, other than a personal foul earlier, I think that's the first penalty on the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've been as close to perfect as a high school football team can be.
Ball on the 26-yard line. 2nd and 11. is number, appears to be Madigan. It is number 35, John Madigan.
And he got about 9 yards of that 14, John. It's going to be 3rd and about 4. And again, Al Paterzo will look at this as a 2-down play. He doesn't have to pick it up on 1 rushing play. He's looking at it so he can pick it up on 2. And you have to key on Darling, so that's going to leave Madigan wide open on the dive play because all eyes are on Darling after what he's done so far today.
3rd and 5 from the 22-yard line. 3 backs. In the backfield, Madigan, Pedro, and Darling for the Falcons. The flip goes to Darling. Fumble, the ball is loose, and it's picked up by number 53, Jason Mena, but I believe they whistled it dead before it came out.
Yeah, they're going to call that down at the 15-yard line, and it's going to bring up 4th and about 2.5, John. We got a good look at this. It's on our end of the field. 4th and 2.5.
Susan Wagner does not kick field goals, and they wouldn't anyway, even if they did, up 22-0.
Curtis is another chance for Curtis to turn this momentum around. It's been all downhill, and here's the first chance on defense to stop this deluge of Susan Wagner points.
4th and 3 from the 20. Excuse me, actually, it's from the 15-yard line. Looking for the scoreboard, it's ball to the 15-yard line.
Darling.
Straight up the gut
First
for
down.
the first down. He just makes it look so effortless.
Doesn't he?
It's either Darling or it's the Curtis defense just allowing.
You know, it's a lot of Darling, it's a lot of the Curtis defense, and it's a lot of that offensive line of Susan Wagner's. Oh my goodness! 4th and 2.5, and they just buried the middle of the Curtis defense there.
You know,
no match.
Those are the things. The offensive line, as you take a look at Coach Al Paterzo, those are the things you just don't see in a box score or in his statistics. The offensive line giving those type of holes to Javon Darling.
See, the most amazing thing about this whole show, the deal so far, I'll talk about it after this play.
1st and goal from the 8. Again, Darling, Madigan, and Pedro. It's Darling just breaking tackle after tackle. No call yet. There it is. 28-0, Susan Wagner.
Flags are down, but I think it's because the only way Curtis can stop him is to grab his face mask.
Yeah.
I think
his head appeared to be pulled back. Yeah. Let's see if we can take a look at it.
Trying to take his head off with face mask now. Watch this now.
Yep, right there. There it is. We saw his head snap back.
They yanked him, and imagine yanking the face mask, and he still goes in. Right before that play, John, I was going to say the most amazing thing is that 1 year ago, a Susan Wagner team that was supposed to be a lot more potent on offense than this one, it was a defensive struggle right to the end, and Curtis absolutely shut down that high-powered Susan Wagner team, and here we are a year later, and Susan Wagner is absolutely demolishing the team that's given it the most trouble the last 2 years.
Coach Paterzo making the adjustments necessary to really not have that type of close game with supposedly on paper, as you just mentioned, less of a personnel than last year.
Man, I'll tell you, when this score gets out to the rest of the city after today, everybody's going to be mighty sad. Look at Darling.
He's just like playing hopscotch over the Curtis defense.
Wow.
16 points in the first quarter, 16 points. Actually, 14 points here in the second quarter, excuse me.
Well, we don't have a stat man up on the bleachers with us now, John, but we're going to make sure for all our fans on Staten Island, we are going to get Javon Darling's halftime stats for you, because
there it is.
He's not going to be the back of the week in all the newspapers. He may be the back of the decade.
We've seen Chris Allers of Port Richmond. We saw the 2 other running backs, excuse me. The Newdorf running back we saw a couple of weeks ago have a great game.
See, now it all becomes a matter of how long Al Paterzo allows Javon Darling to play in this game. With the score 30-0, he just may put him on the bench for the second half, but I'll tell you, if he doesn't, and he allows him to play the full game, we're looking at maybe Staten Island's first 400-yard day.
Got 2
anywhere.
Yards. Got a 68-yard touchdown, a 44-yard touchdown, a 2-yard, and an 8-yard touchdown. It's almost 100 yards just on touchdown runs.
And that's more than 100 what you just gave him. Way more.
That's right, it is.
And he had about a 50-yard run that didn't result in a touchdown.
It's 122 just on those touchdown runs. 5:09 left, 30-0. Susan Wagner in what is really a shocker. He didn't, not so much that Susan Wagner is leading, but just in the ease that they are doing it in. Little squib kick. It's caught by Ken Chapman, number 2, at his 43-yard line. Flag down.
From far away, Dick Stanley throws a flag. You may get a personal foul on Susan Wagner here. Yeah, they hit Chapman after the whistle. He caught that on his knees, and then he was hit by 2 players. So Curtis will get the ball in tremendous field position here. But right now, they don't need anything but positive things to happen the rest of the day. They're not in this game anymore, John. This football game is over. With 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, it's over. But at least they can put their show a little bit of pride and show us a little bit of that offense that everybody's been talking about.
Just as you said that, I heard so many dials changing.
Well, the game, guess what? Susan Wagner is not going to be stopped, it looks like, by the Curtis defense. So even if Curtis gets its offense in gear, how's Curtis going to stop them?
Oh, we did see no sign of a Neudorf offense a couple of weeks ago, and in the second half, what a metamorphosis that became. So you just never know.
Neudorf wasn't playing Susan Wagner, though.
That's true. From the 40-yard line, Jeff Ford back to pass. And even when he gets one open, Exodus Peters and all the other receivers just can't hold on.
And that was a good pass, too, that Peters should have caught.
Matter of fact, talking to Coach Fred Oliveri during the week, I was talking to him about the run and shoot offense, and he said, yes, Jeff Ford is good and everything, but his emphasis, he feels that the receivers of doing the job, getting open, holding on to it, he really gave all the laudness, all the praise to the receivers. Not in this game, though.
No, not so far. They haven't showed us anything.
Exodus Peters on the delay.
He's got some room.
Trying to follow some blocking.
It's a 15-yard gain and a first down.
With under 5 minutes remaining in the second quarter. This angle we're at, very deceiving. It appears to be enough for the first down.
Yeah, that was a first down run. It was about a 15-yard gain, John. Peters sweeping right wide to the left, and Curtis is in striking distance to put something on the board here.
Ford on the run. Pass is complete to number 32, Gambardella. Pete Gambardella, who had 5 receptions and 44 yards last week, moves closer across the 10-yard line. And Curtis now on the move for the first time today. First time the Warrior fans have something to cheer about. 6 touchdowns this year for Pete Gambardella. Let's take a look at it, Joe.
Well, Ford gives a good fake into the line. Good play action. Gambardella was open for a long time, and Ford almost waited too long to deliver the ball. They're inside. It's going to be first and goal, and, John, that's the 4-minute warning.
All right. High school football at each half, you get that 4-minute warning. And as you take a look at that Curtis Warrior bench and trying to get some kind of momentum for this half, trailing 30-0. And now it'll be first and goal at the 4-yard line for the Warriors. First time the fans have had something to cheer about. We mentioned the Falcons with their 46 straight wins against PSAL teams, also have won 32 straight against PSAL city teams. Streaks just go on and on for the Falcons and this PSAL. Now let's see what Coach Oliveri has in mind here, Joe.
We should mention that this is not the only field that's being opened today. Tottenville is opening up its new facility. They're playing Port Richmond today. After we had Tottenville and Neudorf winning both on cable, they played each other last week, and we said that Neudorf would be in every game because of that great defense, and they beat Tottenville 6-0 last week.
Ford on the keep, and perhaps a loss there as he looked to roll out and brought down by number 53, Jason Mena.
It's really impossible from our angle to tell exactly where the ball is, but I think that was a no gain, and it looks like Curtis still needs about 5 yards for a touchdown.
Scoreboard says second and goal at the 4, which is where the original line of scrimmage was. Peters the lone setback. This time Ford looking the other way, and he's crushed. Crushed again by Jason Minna, number 53.
Well, the very first
Take a look.
play action from the 4-yard line is not going to fool anybody. And Ford had no chance of getting rid of that play. But the first bad thing that's happened to Susan Wagner is one of their stars, I believe, is down on the field.
Well, they keep winning, but they keep losing players. It's number 73 of Susan Wagner, Jeff Danish. Marcano and Danish.
Is that Danish?
Yeah, it looks like number 73 looking through the binoculars. It is, Joe. Absolutely.
Wow.
Jeff Danish.
Wow. Dr. Luga Podesta is out there.
I mean, Coach Paterzo he's going to be needing Pepto-Bismol and Rolaids for his players that are going down like bowling pins.
Well, right now, everything that's happened is good to Susan Wagner, 30-0. If Jeff Danish is hurt seriously, that's going to wipe out all joy in the Susan Wagner camp if the big guy can't get up, because he is their premier player on 2 ways.
6'3", 256 junior. Great defensive player, according to Coach Paterzo, as we mentioned earlier. Take a look at a wide shot of this Curtis High School facility, which we mentioned a $4.7 million project. We'll get to that in a second, as this week's game could be seen tonight, October 20th at 9 p.m., Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m., and Tuesday, October 22nd at 9 p.m. again, only on Staten Island Cable Sports 1, the #1 channel on Staten Island Cable TV. Game between Curtis and Susan Wagner. Again, this field, as you take a look at Jeff Danish being helped up by Dr. Luga Podesta, who incidentally helped out our Joe Nugent before the game.
Yeah, I just have to thank my my 2 people that have been taking care of this invalid for the last 10 days. Lee Magenheim is doing a great job, and Luger has been helping me with some advice too, trying to get me through this. But right now, Mr. Danish is the man we should be talking about, because we hope he's okay. He is a big, big part of this Susan Wagner football team, and with the score 30-0, I'm sure if Al Paterzo and Dr. Podesta even think there's the slightest chance that he might hurt himself if he stays in the game, I'm sure that's it for Jeff for the rest of the day.
A loss of 9 on that play. It's 3rd down and goal from the 13. Ford with a quick pitch to Exodus Peters, and he is going to get absolutely nowhere. He was down originally. It's that man again, number 53, Jason Minna.
What a game he's playing so far. He's had an outstanding game on defense.
Calling his name a lot.
He's a veteran that's been a part of this Susan Wagner championship organization for a couple of years, and he's certainly coming up big here today.
Warriors got so close to the 4-yard line that ever since then they've been going backwards.
Very, very prideful unit, this Susan Wagner defense. Even with the score 30-0, they're playing right now as if the score was 6-0.
Gain of 3 on that play, but it's still 4th and goal from the 10, as Warriors will go for it, down 30-0. Ford has time. Now he's in trouble. Still on his feet. Throws. And that's going to be a touchdown.
Wow.
Appeared to be William Haskell. Boy, what a long play that was.
Holy mackerel, I'll tell you. Man, oh man, I can't wait to see the replay on this play.
How much time did Ford use to get out of trouble and finally found Haskell? Matter of fact, there was another Warrior fighting for the ball, it appears.
It was Gamadella.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that Jeff Ford threw this to Haskell. I think he threw it to Gamadella.
I want the ball.
This is great. This is some
he looks
play.
like Fran Tarkenton here.
Right, he does. He gets out of one hold. There's 2 more. He gets away. Now he looks like he's going to run in. Now he throws. Yeah, he was throwing the ball for Gamadella. And Haskell catches it and juggles. Oh, man, that's great.
A 10-yard CD. Boy, the Warriors could really use that for momentum coming into the half. Haskell's eighth touchdown of the year as they go for the 2-point conversion. The flip goes to Haskell, and he scores. It's the William Haskell show.
30-8. And Jeff Danish is hurt, so in the last 2 minutes, Susan Wagner had it shut out, go by the boards, and its best lineman is on the sideline, so that brings a little cheer to the Curtis faithful here, where this crowd is swelled to probably over 1,000 now, and maybe 1,500. They're a little bit happy, you know.
Again, that's what makes the running back so deadly, as they're used as receivers. 18 receptions, 307 yards coming into the game for Haskell, and 7 touchdowns, which is number 3 on Staten Island. Last year, he was tied for second. Haskell was, with 82 points, 625 yards with 21 receptions. Haskell can put up the numbers, and he tells Pete Gambardella, I want to add to my numbers this year, and Coach Alfieri doesn't care. It's the first points of the game for the Warriors, and the first time they've been able to do anything, especially that's more important than it appears, because they were really having their problems getting close to the 4-yard line, Joe, and then the negativeness was setting in again.
Well, that was the most exciting. Javon Darling's one touchdown run here, I thought was the most spectacular run we've seen all year. But I'll tell you what, that was definitely the most exciting play. You were right. That looked like Fran Tarkington about 20 years ago, scrambling around for the Vikings or the Giants. I thought that Ford was going to run from when he threw it.
It appeared, yeah.
And I wonder if anybody was keeping track of whether he was past the line of scrimmage.
I was just going to say that if he was, we couldn't tell from this angle. It is a touchdown with 1:55 left. And Exodus Peters kicking off a short kick. Fielded by Madigan.
I would think that Susan Wagner, with 1:55 to go here in the second quarter, would be very conservative in its approach.
1st and 10 from the Susan Wagner 40.
And we'll, at halftime, we have 2 jobs to do, really. We definitely have to get Javon Darling's stats for the first half, which are going to be spectacular.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns for Susan Wagner, all 4 running by Javon Darling.
And it's also important that we get a report on Jeff Danish's condition from the sideline. That's the 2 things we have to get for the fans at halftime. 1:54 on the clock, and I expect Javon Darling. This will be the Javon Darling show. Let's see if Curtis can prevent him from breaking another one. There's Madigan. Look at this.
It's Pedro. James Pedro. The line of scrimmage was from the 33, not the 40.
He got a first down. That was a 12-yard scamper.
45 now, 1st and 10 from the 45. With 1:30 and the clock moving. They pick up yards in a hurry, running like most teams do passing.
Boy, I bet you Andrew is probably saying, Andrew LaFada is probably saying, come on, Coach, let me take one shot here. Let me throw the ball one time. This would be the time we might see it.
Well, clock moving. Showing 1.
Yeah, O'Hare, the wide receiver, has got all sorts of room and only single coverage if they decide to put it up.
Play action. It's a flea flicker. Aaron Sullivan's pass for Brian Sullivan is intercepted by Haskell. Down the far sidelines and out of bounds.
Wow. I take that back. If Curtis can score before the half ends, this game's not over.
Joe, we saw in the Newdub game, things can change in a hurry, and right now, the one who's changing it is that man, William Haskell.
Paterzo finally decided to let his team throw a pass, but he didn't let LaFada throw it.
Well, the backup
he wouldn't let his quarterback throw it.
It was
outstanding play by Haskell, and I thought he had a lane all the way down the sideline, but hey, Curtis has about 53 seconds to try and make this a 30-16 game before we get to half.
Interesting, the backup quarterback listed as Brian O'Hare. He was on the receiving end from Aaron Sullivan on that play. 53 seconds of the clock showing with 1st and 10 from the 40-yard line of Susan Wagner for Curtis. How many times does Albert Terzo's Susan Wagner Falcons have to face adversity? They just do it in every game. They've got to be used to it by now. And this game is the injury to Jeff Danish, as again it's Frank Tarkenton a la Jeff Ford.
He's going to throw for 6.
Against his body, and it is
touchdown!
Incredible!
Oh, my goodness!
Did you see
Oh,
that?
my God, what a play!
William Haskell, a 40-yard touchdown. That is run and shoot at its best. Jeff Ford looking exactly like Fran Tarkenton.
Oh, my goodness, what a play. Don't turn the dial. Stay here, 30-14.
Well, if the folks left this game, You saw how explosive the running game of Susan Wagner can be. How explosive is a passing game of Curtis we have just seen in the last 5 minutes or less. Woo. And the crowd here at Curtis is in a state of euphoria.
Oh.
The two-point conversion, the clock showing 39 seconds left.
This is a big two-point conversion. Very big. Could cut it to 14.
Ford on the run. Back against his body. Touchdown. Actually, a two-point conversion. And this time, it's number 88. It appears to be, from our angle, it is number 88, Whitfield Jack.
And there's Dennis McKnight standing on the sideline for Susan Wagner, the old alumni, saying, geez, I didn't know I was playing against Randall Cunningham here today, because that's exactly what Jeff Ford is. That's exactly who he's looked like the last two times Curtis has had the ball. Those are plays that Randall Cunningham makes in the NFL. That last pass was unbelievable.
Across his body, it's Whitfield Jack, who incidentally has 2 touchdown receptions on the year for himself.
John, I think we're going to see the bomb. Well, we got the very end of it. We didn't get the beginning. Maybe we can get it back so we can see the whole play later on.
How impressive this Ford, who was looking horrible this whole game. We didn't understand. Throwing across his body after scrambling and finding the open receiver for the touchdown and then again for the two-point conversion. With 38 seconds showing, this game is really has been a dichotomy. In the last 2 minutes, it's been all Curtis. Anytime before that, it's been Susan Wagner and Javon Darling. That's now 30-16, and if folks who turned the channel and just came back for a second, it's not 30-0 anymore, it's 30-16.
Wow.
Exodus Peters with the squib kick. Pedro will field it at his 20. Up the near sideline. He has an angle, and he's knocked out of bounds at midfield with...
Nobody turned the clock on.
Yeah, the clock did not run.
Our scoreboard clock wasn't. The official time's on the field anyway, but nobody turned the clock on while Pedro was going down the field. And what you'll see now is you'll see the ball in the hands of Javon Darling, and Al Paterzo will get his troops into the locker room.
Or he'll just have LaFata sit on it.
Hey, John, you don't understand that if Jeff Danish can't play in this football game anymore, that is a tremendous impact on both units.
Yes,
Danish is very important to Darling and extremely important to putting pressure on Ford. And Curtis realizes that, man, they have every reason to be optimistic.
That's what could have ignited them. They were going backwards before that injury. As Darling gets the handoff. I mean, it was 1st and goal at the 4. They got back all the way to the 13. Danish got injured, and 4th and 10 as they move forward, and that's where it all began for Curtis, the positiveness for the first time today.
If that scoreboard clock is anywhere close to being right, that probably is the last play of a fabulous first half that looked like a Wagner blowout, and now we have something special happening here.
We get the siren, but not the official word from Dick Stanley.
No. According to the sideline judge, Wagner has enough time to run at least one more play. And that's it.
That's the official
just before the snap.
We got the signal from Dick Stanley. Folks, you change the channel, come back for what's going to be an exciting second half. The halftime score, as you see, the Susan Wagner Falcons 30, the Curtis Warriors 16, and you're watching high school football on Staten Island Cable Sports 1.
Around, and I'm telling you, when those two teams left the field, John, Curtis looked like they were winning, and Susan Wagner had their heads down.
How big was that turnover, Joe? That after the touchdown, the 10-yard touchdown on 4th down, how big was that 40-yard touchdown pass that was set up though from a turnover? The
only time Al Paterzo deviated from his game plan was he took a shot after Curtis put a touchdown on the board with a flea flicker pass from his wide receiver throwing down the field, and Haskell made a great play. Ford made a greater play, and it's 30-16, and I'm telling you, now nobody better go away because this is going to be really exciting in the second half.
The fans and Joe and I are kind of shocked, and we'll continue that to find out more for you in the second half. We'll see exactly how this game turns out. Come and join us. You're watching high school football on Staten Island Cable. 30-16 is your score. The Falcons led 30-0. And it was two late exciting touchdowns by Curtis has gotten them back into it. Now for the halftime important things we had to check on. First for the Falcons, Javon Darling's numbers, 16 rushes, 208 yards, Joe, and Jeff Danish. Right knee injury is not slated to be back.
Okay, we're going to find out in a second whether this is going to be the most amazing comeback in Staten Island high school history, or can the Falcons take control again? And there goes Pedro.
On the kickoff from Exodus Peters. Gets close to midfield at about the 40-yard line.
If Curtis comes back and wins this game, John, there'll be about 50,000 people 10 years from now saying, I was there the day, I was there the day. And then we're going to find out in the next hour whether Susan Wagner can just take control of this game on the ground again without their best defensive and offensive linemen on the field.
I'd like to thank the stat help by Staten Island Avalanche writer Joe D'Amoto, and the information about Jeff Danish from Big Dennis McKnight of the Philadelphia Eagles, as Darling starts the third quarter. Picks up around 7 or 8, perhaps 9 yards on that carry.
Yep, he got about 7 to start the second half.
And Coach Pederzo will just continue to try to run it on the ground, and I'm sure we will not see another pass. I don't care if the score gets up to 50 points out of Andrew LaFotter.
Well, he didn't throw it. He didn't throw the pass.
That's true. It wasn't him.
That's
it was
right.
On the flea
The only pass he's thrown was the two-point conversion try to Ed O'Hare.
Sure, the interception which set up the second touchdown was not by Andrew LaFotter, as a pitch to Darling again. And he gets across midfield, down, he fumbles, it's loose. And
wow.
Susan Wagner will recover, close to being out of bounds. Wait to see who fell on that. It was number 11, Brian O'Hare, who fell on that fumble.
Well, that was the break that Curtis needs to have, because their defense certainly isn't going to stop Darling, so maybe a turnover could help them. Darling did put it on the ground for the first time today, but O'Hare makes a big play. There's Darling, a tremendous cutback, 15 yards and a fumble. A lot of maroon shirts around it, but O'Hare got there first.
Dewan Reeves was responsible for the fumble by Darling. First and 10 from the 34.
That's James Pedro
Yep.
playing the fullback spot. He's got to be the smallest fullback in the history of high school football.
5'5", 130.
Right, and he's playing the position that Keith Walker played, and he just, well, did he run hard for 6? Curtis has got to stop him. They go down the field and put it in the end zone. That's going to put the momentum right back in their corner.
2nd and 4 from the 28. Darling and Madigan from an I formation. Susan Wagner.
being just a 3-yard gain, and that hurts. He should have had 5 or 6 on that play. He only got 3.
Second and 7, 18 receptions, 278 yards this year. Number 4 on Staten Island for the 5'9" senior. Again, this no-huddle running-shoot offense, the combination NFL-wise of the Buffalo Bills, Houston Oilers, are these Curtis Warriors. And did absolutely nothing until the last 2 minutes of the half, and now trying to do it again. That play, that pass hits the turf, intended for Exodus Peters. It'll be 3rd and 7 from the 40.
Peters, they tried to run the same play they ran a couple of plays ago for the first down, and Peters was open, but Ford bounced that one to him, so now it's 3rd and long.
Clock showing 5:01, and it'll stop, of course, with the incomplete pass as the Warriors check in with Coach Fred Oliveri for the play.
Even though it's a run and shoot and there's no huddle, John, Curtis does take a long time between plays.
They don't huddle, but they do it at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Ford rolling, looking.
Opened.
Exodus Peters for the first down. Across midfield into Susan Wagner territory.
No, the last one was bounced, but that was the first time today that Jeff Ford has stepped back and drilled a pass. There was no touch on that. He looked more like John Elway than Dan Marino on that play, and that's the way he had to throw that one because Peters was pretty well covered.
Take a look at it again. He drilled it in, as you mentioned, Joe.
And guess what? I think without Jeff Danish charging in his face, I think that Jeff Ford may get a lot more time here in the second half.
Mercano made Jason Mena and Jeff Danish were all over Ford, forcing him out of that pocket, and now it's less Jeff Danish, that Susan Wagner defense. 1st and 10 from the 45.
Open.
Peters again. This time they're holding on to it, too, as finally, for Susan Wagner, Eric Woodson, number 2, makes the hit.
I'm going to tell you another thing. William Haskell on that play coming down the left sideline could have gone deep there. They could have gotten 6. He wasn't covered very well.
Take a look at it.
Same play as before. Peters in the middle, and Ford is drilling it in there. Beautiful.
What makes it work, Joe, is earlier the same plays were happening, but the receivers were not holding on.
And it also makes the Curtis's deep passes a lot more dangerous. Susan Wagner's going to start coming up to cover the short passes.
I can't emphasize enough, folks, that these receivers are the running backs. He doesn't even throw it to the wide receivers until right now, as number 88, Whitfield Jack, who has caught that 2-point conversion, I believe, was the receiver on that. I'll check it in a second. It was, yes, Whitfield Jack, number 88.
Gain of 4, 2nd and 6 on the 31-yard line as Curtis comes closer and closer to making this a real close ball game. A very fast-moving quarter, John. There's only 3:50 left in the 3rd quarter because every pass has been a completion, so the clock continues to run. I'd look for Haskell on this one. It's time to go to Haskell deep.
Jack in motion. 4 receivers to the right. Lone setback with Gammadella. A screen to Exodus Peters. And he crosses the 25 to about the 23-yard line.
First down from our angle. That should be, yes it is. It's a first down.
Right play right in front of us now. We have an excellent angle.
You believe this? I can't believe what's going on here. I really can't.
Do you really think the presence of Jeff Danish has everything to do with this?
Defensively, no. I think Curtis has just got his confidence back in there in sync.
Take a look.
Offensively, though, they're going to really miss him, blocking for Darling.
Number 23, 1st and 10. Ford has plenty of time over the middle. Touchdown, Whitfield Jack.
Wow.
It's now 30-22.
Jeff Ford, that was a big-time pass. Man, an NFL quarterback can't throw the ball better than this. All during that drive, Ford was stepping up and drilling it. I'm telling you, this is really something to see.
A 23-yard touchdown from Jeff Ford to Whitfield Jack. Touchdown number 20 on the year.
Big-time point here, 30-22.
Passing-wise for Jeff Ford.
This is big.
Jack in motion, the 2-point conversion coming up. And off.
Good.
Haskell for the 2 points. It's 30-24. The Warriors are within 6.
Hold on to your hats, fans. This is going to be unbelievable. 3:20 to go in the third quarter, and right now Curtis not only thinks they can win, they almost feel they can win and know they can win.
The last 3 possessions for Curtis have resulted in outscoring Susan Wagner 24-0 after they were outscored themselves 30-0.
I've never seen anything like it, and I'm glad we're here because I expected a shootout, and then after a quarter and a half, I thought the final score was going to be about 60-6.
This is the type of game Coach Fred Oliveri wanted, and it didn't appear that it was going to get that way, but we did the Tottenville game, and how the game before we did, I can't remember the quarterback's name currently right now, the Tottenville quarterback who threw 6 interceptions in the game. And then in the next game, he looked so poised. Well, Jeff Ford, I'm making the comparison to Jeff Ford, who didn't look good. His receivers didn't look good. It just turns around so quickly.
Well, the last couple of times that Curtis has had the ball, Jeff Ford is throwing the ball harder. The first quarter and a half, he was trying to float passes in there, and he wasn't getting much on them, and they were being blown. There was a good wind blowing. That's another thing, John. I think the wind has died down. It really has. We're standing at the top of the bleachers, and it's died down, so that's helped a little bit. But he's just putting more on his passes, and of course his receivers are catching it, and this has really gotten to be some spectacle here.
The field is north to south. The wind was blowing heavily from east to west.
Pedro.
Not now, as Pedro
from
does.
the 15.
Takes the kick. From Exodus Peters, he gets past a host of Warrior tacklers and gets about 15 extra yards to about the 40.
Great run back by James Pedro. And over on the sideline, I know what Al Paterzo just told his offensive unit. It's up to you guys to grind it out and go get 6 for us. And Curtis on the defensive side still, they made one big play last time after Wagner drove it down deep in their territory.
We made a point of it the entire first half, how effortless it looked for Javon Darling to run through the Curtis defense. What adjustments did they make, do you think, Joe, to stop Darling on the first series?
I think that this is where Jeff Danish's presence is felt most. I just think the blocking wasn't as good on the last drive, and let's see if Wagner can get the blocking it needs to spring Darling for a big one.
Darling juggles, and then gets about 5. It'll be second and call it 5 at about the 45-yard line, 44-yard line.
Face mask
on Curtis. That hurts Curtis. That'll give them the Falcons, the first down. That's the second face masking penalty on the Warriors in this game.
And that's a flagrant face mask of 15 yards, and that moves it into Curtis's territory. John, unofficially, I have Darling for 8 carries for 35 yards here in the second half. In the first half, he averaged about 15 yards a carry, and so far in the second half, he's averaged only a little over 4 yards a carry. And that may be a sign that the Curtis defense, without Jeff Danish on the other side of the ball, can handle the Susan Wagner running attack. We'll see.
Calling again with 3 backs on that backfield.
Man.
He bowls over very quietly for about 8 or 9.
He got hit after 4, and then he drove him back for 4 more. Great run by Darling.
This time he fouled the blocking, and it's going to be, if not a first down, second and perhaps 1-2. No more than that. At the 41, with 2:20 and counting in this third quarter, 30-24, Susan Wagner, and what is now a very close game, and it was at one point 30-0. Darling, Magadan, and Pedro, the running backs. It's Darling for the first down and more. He's getting the blocking right now.
Javon Darling just burst through the line, was hit by Peter Gammadella, and he carried Peter Gammadella for about 7 or 8 more yards, and Gammadella just went along for the ride. He is turning it on.
Darling at 175, Gammadella at 185. Now
Gamadella's coming off the field, John. He may be hurt.
He's favoring appears to be on his right side of his body, perhaps his shoulder.
He's gone both ways today, trying to try to get his team in this.
Darling right, left, up the middle. Right now it's Darling again on first and 10 from the 25, perhaps a gain of 3. It'll be second and around 7 from the 22.
A couple of records I think Darling's going to break today. I think he break the record for most yardage in a game, and I think he's going to break the record for most carries in a game. He's up to 27 carries in this game.
Well, we mentioned Jeff Ford and Matt Del Giorno with attempts in passing. 43 was close to a single game record. Javon Darling's doing it rushing-wise in attempts. Clock moves, 1:10 in this third quarter. Susan Wagner on the move again as they were in their first possession in this second half, and then they were stopped. Darling ahead. He's close to the first down. It'll be third down and short.
Yeah, they got a shot at hold'em. This is exactly where they were last time, John. This is where Susan Wagner stalled. They were 3rd and 3. Darling got stopped at the line of scrimmage on 3rd down, and then Chapman made that great play on 4th down at the same spot of the field. This is going to be probably the last play of the third quarter. 3rd and 3.
Clock moving with 30 seconds. Darling, Madigan, James Pedro in that backfield.
I think that LaFont is, I think he audibilized at the line of scrimmage.
It appeared to be away on the draw to Darling, straight up the middle.
I think he got it, John.
Clock stops with 11.3 seconds showing in this third quarter on the scoreboard.
Did we get a signal?
That could be...
No signal yet.
Well, the teams are switching in. There's the signal right there.
Yeah, there's the first down, John. They got a first down.
And that's the end of the third quarter. With the score, the Susan Wagner Falcons 30, the Curtis Warriors 24. You're watching high school football on Staten Island Cable Sports 1. Better action. This coming the first play. First down and 10 from call the 13 as Darling goes straight ahead. It's been that way this whole drive. He crosses the 10-yard line to the 9. Where it'll be second down and 7.
Javon Darling in the second half, John, has now carried 14 times for 69 yards. That was his 30th carry of the game, and he has gained 277 yards. 30 carries for 277, and he is going to be the reason that Susan Wagner holds on. And I guess we have another Susan Wagner big-time player on number 75.
Krista Mesa.
One of the offensive linemen. They've already lost Danish, and he's down.
Charlie DeMessa, excuse me, the center on offense, 5'5", 217 junior Charles DeMessa. And Susan Wagner players continue to go down. Gives me an opportunity, however, though, to mention that this copyrighted cable cast is presented by the authority of Staten Island Cable and is solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publications, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Staten Island Cable is prohibited.
Okay, very important here, John. The Susan Wagner team lost their center on that last play. He has to come off the field for at least one play. Number 70 has replaced
Joe DiCostanzo.
Joe DiCostanzo, and the snap is going to be real important here. Very important.
John Tassiello with Joe Nugent here at Curtis High School. The second down and 7 from the 8-yard line. Mix-up off now handoff after the snap.
That's right.
Call that, Joe.
That's going to be a legal motion against the Susan Wagner team.
That shows you the importance.
There you go.
Legal procedure.
The snap count was off, and everything was off because of that one chance. Now, I'm sure that Al Paterzo would love to get his regular center, number 75, Charles DeMessa, back into the game, but...
Take a look at it. Let's see if it was on the snap or the handoff.
The snap was late. The snap was late. Everybody moved except the snap didn't come. Isn't that unbelievable?
That's incredible how we can catch that. New center in. Those are the offensive line people. You take that for granted, being just an average fan. Second down and back to the 10-yard line.
It was second and 11. And Darling,
right. Okay.
Darling got it back to the 9. It's going to be 3rd and 6.
The 9-yard line with 10:56 left. Again, Coach Paterzo and the Falcons do not go for field goals.
And guess what? This is a time where a field goal would really, really help. If they had a field goal kicker, it could put them up by 9.
Yes, Coach Paterzo, 4th and 3, down by 1. Fourth quarter, he goes for the touchdown.
Well, he would love to have a kid that could he would love to have a kid that could put it through the uprights now, but I don't think he does.
Big play here for the Curtis defense from an I formation. Darling straight up the middle. Looks like he, on his second effort.
No, he got to the 5, and that was it, John. It's going to be 4th and 2 from the 5-yard line, and wow, is this a big play.
Well, this is the play of the game right here.
We keep saying that this is the play of the game, and that's the play of the game. But
well,
for
this has to be. This will be it because it turns the ball over if they do not make the first down.
And now that we get a better look at it, that's more like 3 yards, John. That's 4th and 3.
As the Falcons bring in number 4, Aaron Sullivan. James Pedro, number 42, comes out. I'm trying to see if the message still is who the center is. Fans, both sides, making the noise as you hear. LaFont is back to pass. He's in trouble. It's in the end zone. Incomplete. Curtis takes over. Deep in their own territory, no flag. And they have 9:47 to march it down from their own 5-yard line.
Andrew LaFonta's first pass of the day comes on 4th and 2.5 from the 6-yard line, and it's incomplete, and Curtis is 94 yards away from the greatest comeback in Staten Island high school football history. 94 yards and 9 minutes left.
And they're just going to emphasize the 9 minutes. They shouldn't hurry up and make mistakes. They have plenty of time.
They got plenty of time, John, plenty of time.
That's the first pass from scrimmage. LaFont did have the 2-point conversion pass that was complete. But it's a 30-24 game. They place the ball, according to the scoreboard, at the 5. 4 receivers in, lone setback, Gambardella over the
wide
middle.
open.
There's Peters. They've been doing that all day. To the 20 as he gets breathing room. Still on his feet across the 25 before he's gang tackled by a host of Falcons, led by number 20, Mike Blumenbaum. Exodus Peters has been open over the middle all game. Just in the first quarter, he couldn't hold on.
I think I'm going to borrow a line from Jack. I think I'm going to borrow a line from Jack Buck. Here goes Ford again. Peters, who's been the big man all day long, in the second half especially, makes a tremendous catch and then takes 4 Susan Wagner Falcons to take him down. Jack Buck, after the Kurt Gibson home run, said, I don't believe what I just seen. I don't believe what I've seen for the last hour and a half. I absolutely don't believe it.
I mean, Joe, totally. There's a big almost interception. Almost intercepted. Take a look and see who that Falcon was. It was number 43 of the Falcons, Ronald Spahn. Almost had that big interception. Second and 10 from the 27. Jeff Ford has thrown 1 interception here today. Matter of fact, each team with an interception. 9:14 left. For Curtis, number 66, Bernard Lopez checks in, replacing number 65, Pete Sorrentino, on the offensive line. Ford. Gambardella down the sideline, passes Spahn. A first down for the Warriors, who are really on the move. And this Curtis crowd, again, once again, in a state of euphoria.